Jehoiada the priest, and you can see an image on the right of the coinage or icon from that same book spoken of earlier. This is Jehoiada from Promptuary Iconum Insignior. Jehoiada was a prominent priest during the reigns of Ahaziah, Athaliah, and Joash. I'll go back to this table, which shows you the kings of Judah and the kings of Israel. The sixth king of Judah, which would have been Ahaziah, his reign was 841 BC, and he reigned for 1 year. So you can't get him mixed up with Ahaziah, the king of Israel, the 8th king after Ahab in 853, which there's a small difference in the times that they ruled, which this king of Israel ruled for 2 years and the other one reigned for 1. Both separate kingdoms, but same name. Jehoiada became the brother-in-law of King Ahaziah. Let's go back. There's Ahaziah, Judah, and Zechariah's father, Jehoiada, the priest, became this king's brother-in-law. As a result of his arranged marriage with Princess Jehosheba, alternatively Jehoshabat, I'm saying it right. Both Jehosheba and Ahaziah were children of King Joram of Judah. Check out King Joram of Judah. There he is. 5th king of Judah, 848 to 841. He reigned 8 years. They were his children. Ahaziah died a year after assuming the throne, shown in this table. 1 year. That's how you know it was the king of Judah, which was then usurped by his mother Athaliah, which would have had a woman reigning over Israel for 6 years, from 841 BC to 835, who ordered the execution of all members of the royal family. Jehosheba and Jehoiada rescued from Athaliah's slaughter Athaliah's 1-year-old grandson, Joash, which was the 8th king to rule, 835 to 796, 40 years. Okay. Continue. For 6 years they hid the sole surviving heir to the throne within the temple, So she tried to kill her 1-year-old grandson, Joash. Jehoiada was instrumental in the staging of the coup that dethroned and killed Athaliah. Jehoiada was instrumental in the staging of the coup that dethroned and killed Athaliah. Under Jehoiada's guidance, Baal worship was renounced on the altar and the temple of Baal were destroyed. Now let's read on 2 Chronicles 24, just a brief gist of the narrative and what's going on in this chapter. So it says Joash was 7 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 40 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name also was Zibiah of Beersheba. Right, so Beersheba would have been in this reading here. Verse 2, Joash did that which was right in the sight of the Lord all the days of Jehoiada the priest. Verse 4, it tells you, and it came to pass after this that Joash was minded to repair the house of the Lord. And he gathered together the priests and the Levites and said to them, Go out unto the cities of Judah and gather of all Israel money to repair the house of your God from year to year, and see that ye hasten the matter, albeit the Levites hastened it not. And the king called for Jehoiada the chief, and said unto him, Why hast thou not required of the Levites to bring in out of Judah and out of Jerusalem the collection according to the commandment of Moses, the servant of the Lord, and of the congregation of Israel for the tabernacle of witness? For the sons of Athaliah, that wicked woman, had broken up the house of God, and also all the dedicated things of the house of the Lord did they bestow upon Baalim. Look up the word Baalim. Baal, Lord, supreme male divinity of the Phoenicians or Canaanites. So those worshipping another deity, which they was called made of basically an idol, or called him a king. So they followed after the customs of the heathen, which would have been specifically the Phoenicians. As we showed earlier on the map, Phoenicia would have been around Tyre and Zidon. Chapter 24 verse 8, and at the king's commandment they made a chest and set it without the gate of the house of the Lord. And they made a proclamation through Judah and Jerusalem to bring in to the Lord the collection that Moses, the servant of God, laid upon Israel in the wilderness. And then to jump down to verse 12, and the king Jehoiada gave it to such as did the work of the service of the Lord, and hired masons and carpenters to repair the house of the Lord, and also such as wrought iron and brass to mend the house of the Lord. Okay, and that was what Joash the king did with Jehoiada, the priest and father of this particular Zechariah. And it reads on in the 15th verse, but Jehoiada waxed old and was full of days when he died. 130 years old was he when he died. And they buried him in the city of David among the kings, because he had done good in Israel, both toward God and toward his house. Now after the death of Jehoiada king of the princes of Judah, and made obeisance to the king, then the king hearkened unto them. And they left the house of the Lord God of their fathers, and served groves and idols, and wrath came upon Judah and Jerusalem for their trespasses. Once again, a theme which is repetitive among our people, even unto this day. Our people, once the prophets die, or they have certain leaderships, where the Lord sets up prophets or sets up kings, our people, once those people die or go off, everyone goes off and want to turn against the Lord our power and worship and follow the customs of the heathen, which they evidently sow throughout these references, biblical references that I've been bringing out. The Lord punishes them through way of bringing armies against them. 2 Chronicles 24:19. Yet he sent prophets to them to bring them again unto the Lord, and they testified against them, but they would not give ear. So Joash the king fell off as soon as the priest died, and started 2 Chronicles 24:19. Yet he sent prophets to them to bring them again unto the Lord, and they testified against them, but they would not give ear. And the Spirit of God came upon Zechariah the son of Jehoiada the priest, which stood above the people, and said unto them, Thus saith God, why transgresseth ye the commandments of the Lord, that ye cannot prosper? Because ye have forsaken the Lord, he hath also forsaken you. And they conspired against him, and stoned him with stones, at the commandment of the king, in the court of the house of the Lord. Thus Joash the king remembered not the kindness which Jehoiada his father had done to him, but slew his son. And when he died, he said, The Lord look upon it and require it. And it came to pass at the end of the year, that the host of Syria came up against him, and they came to Judah and Jerusalem, and destroyed all the princes of the people from among the people, and sent all the spoil of them unto the king of Damascus. For the army of the Syrians came with a small company of men, and the Lord delivered a very great host into their hand, because they had forsaken the Lord God of their fathers. So they executed judgment against Joash. And when they were departed from him, for they left him in great diseases, his own servants conspired against him for the blood of the sons of Jehoiada the priest. And they slew him on his bed, and he died. And they buried him in the city of David, but they buried him not in the sepulchres of the kings. So there was a retribution that the Lord set up against Joash. Even his servants took his life, and killed him on his bed. And in verse 26 it tells you, and these are they that conspired against him: Zabad the son of Shemiah, and Ammonites, and Jehozabad the son of Shimmer, a Moabitess, which the Ammonites were. The Ammonite woman would have been the so-called Japanese today, and the Moabitess would have been the so-called Chinese.